Om Sai Ram. Let us understand chapter number 32, narration of the Guru's greatness. But before that, let us do the Namasmaran, followed by chapter number 32, and then we will conclude chapter number 32 with the Aarti. Shri Satchidananda Satguru Sainath Maharaj ki jai. Om Shri Sai Nathaya Namaha. 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 Om Sai Ram. Chapter number 32, narration of the Guru's greatness. I bow down to Shri Ganesh, I bow down to Shri Saraswati, I bow down to the Guru, I bow down to the family deity, I bow down to Shri Sita Ramachandra, I bow down to Shri Sadguru Sainath. In the previous chapter, it was narrated how Vijay Anand attained salvation and how Balkakram also was happily absorbed at Sai's feet. Similarly, Tatya Sahib Nulkar and the greatest devotee Megha both left their bodies in the presence of Sai. Greater than these was the marvel of the mode of death of a cruel animal like a tiger that also was heard in detail by the listeners. Now, in the present chapter, I shall narrate an interesting story told by Baba himself. The listeners will find it extremely beneficial. Once, when Baba was in a forest, he had the darshan of his Guru. All of a sudden, listen with full attention to the strange behavior of the Guru. How can I, an insignificant person, narrate the wonder of that story? It will grant devotion, faith, and salvation. As Sai himself has said, also, how a lady desired to have Baba's darshan and stay there at Shirdi for 3 days, observing a fast without water. How a situation was created to make her break her resolve, and how she made was made to cook tasty and well baked golden red puran polis. Not only did he make her prepare the polis, but fed them to others and herself to the heart's content, teaching her the virtue of using one's body for service to others. He impressed upon her in a manner that she would remember all her life. That service rendered to others was higher in merit than benefits attained from fasting. Also, that for the one who wishes to attain the ultimate purpose of life, how well one should study and how to make great and persistent efforts regularly to attain the objective. Stories emphasizing on the purport sweeter than nectar will arouse devotion amongst the listeners and remove their sorrows. Now, from here onwards, the sweet stories will satisfy the listeners and unite the narrator and the listeners in the bond of common ecstasy. Sai will get all these stories which are amazing and full of love done through me who am only a foolish and insignificant person. As I write, I experience their marvel at every step. Just as the sins are removed by the darshan of the Ganges or the worldly turmoil by the darshan of moon, Sai's words are effective in destroying all the sins and sorrows. Now, all you listeners become respectfully attentive to listen to the words of the Maharaj Sai about the darshan of his own Guru. Even if the Vedas, Shrutis, Shastras, and like scriptures are studied, there is no acquisition of knowledge without the Guru's grace. It's like just a physical and mental exhaustion. This tree of mundane existence, often immense expanse, which was not visible earlier, but which was experienced later, is full of miseries on account of birth and death. It is illusionary and perishable. This mundane existence is called a tree because, like a tree, it can be cut into pieces and hence is perishable. This existence, which is not perceptible initially because at one point of time it remained steady, is therefore compared to the tree. This is that tree of mundane existence which is seen but by the nature of which is not known. It has its roots above which endless expanse of branches. Very little of this tree comes within the purview of the human being. From moment to moment it spreads as more branches sprout. Sometimes from a distance they look beautiful, but one finds them prickly all over if embraced. Like the trunk of a plantain tree, this is devoid of existence or pith, like a mirage, or like the city of Gandhavaras. This tree appeared very attractive with the surrounding area round the roots clinging on account of the water in the form of desires. This tree, along though non-existent in character, originates from actions and desires rooted in nescience and has its own character undergoing the change every moment. This tree is of the nature of calamity, has its origin in ignorance. Surrounding this tree is a store of water in the form of desires and lust. This tree is one that has its expanse in the belonging or possession with money, food, son, and wife. This tree has as its support an idea of oneness with the body. In fact, this idea is always the root of this tree. The trunk of this tree, in reality, is the endless beings with gender differences. The many offshoots in the form of branches are formed by actions and sublime impressions. On account of these, this tree continues to grow. This tree is one which is full of leaves in the form of shrutis. It throbs with sprouts in the form of primary sensations. It assumes glory in the form of flowers, which are actions including rituals and charity. It is full of juices of the pairs of opposites. There is no end to the fruits of this tree. On it, indeed, depend all beings as well as the worlds, like Bhur and Bhuva, for their existence, as they cannot remain separate from the tree. This is like the ancient Ashwatha tree, which has always a dejected face. At times it is dancing, at times singing, and at other times playing instruments. Sometimes it is full of sport, laughter, and at times it weeps. The appearance of this tree is really within Brahman. This can be cut by the sword of detachment. This is that tree which has for its support pure roots. Understand this to be of the nature of effulgence, that Brahman is truth and is the support for everything. This world is of an illusionary nature like a dream. Surely neither has this tree a beginning nor an end. How can it exist only in the middle? It is for this purpose that those who are detached toil, the holy are ever attached to it. This is the goal of those who seek liberation and is the coveted end for all aspirants. Try to stay at the place which you like. Do aspire to take refuge at the feet of saints. Listen with attention to all that they say and take care to do away with their doubts from their very roots. Controlling the mind utterly, the root of our intellect. Try to become totally detached and continue to gaze at the feet of the Guru. Eradicate completely all fake beliefs which otherwise will create impediments on the way. Trample under your feet all conceit. Then you will be able to reach the other shore. Listen to a sweet story which elucidates this and which Baba himself narrated. Savoring the nectar of the Guru's words will have great pleasure. Once the four of us read the Shastras and the Puranas and began to describe the Brahman, believing ourselves to be very knowledgeable. One of our group quoted the Gita's words about salvation by self effort, decried the tendency to depend on anyone else for one's salvation. To this, the second replied that he who controls his mind is blessed and that we should be free from thoughts and ideas, and there is nothing in the world except our own self. The third said that the world is always changing, the formless eternal. So we should discriminate between the real and the unreal, the permanent and the transitory. The fourth one did not approve of bookish knowledge and suggested that the prescribed duty should be carried out and we should surrender our body, mind, and the five pranas at the Guru's feet. The Guru is God and all pervading. To get this conviction, strong unbound faith is necessary. Those who know the scriptures, those who are pedagogues, always ready for arguments and discussions, and those who raise unnecessary doubts and skeptics, they do not achieve complete knowledge even in their dreams. What is necessary is a person full of faith and devotion. Thus, we four wise men set forth the quest of Brahman, which can be experienced independently, though one's intellect and mind is free of anxiety. We of the group had this objective. While wandering in the forest according to our own fancy, we met a Vanjari on the way who questioned us. The heat is scorching. Why and where are you going? We replied that we were to him that we were searching the woods. The Vanjari then asked us on the nature of our quest, and we replied to him ambiguously and evasively. Seeing us rambling aimlessly, he moved up and said that the forest is dense and impenetrable, and without knowing the woods fully, we should not wander at the random. If we wanted to walk through the forest, we should take a guide with us and not exert ourselves unnecessarily at the sultry noontime. We need not disclose to him the secret of our mission, but we would rest a little, eat a little bit, drink some water, and be patient at heart. Though he made a compassionate entreaty, we contemptuously discarded his request and proceeded further and felt greatly tired on the way. We had an arrogant attitude that we were all very knowledgeable and could find our own way and needed no guide. But the forest was very vast and full of massive trees, where the rays of the sun could not penetrate through the dense foliage. How could we even find our way? We lost our way and wandered here and there fruitlessly. Through sheer good luck, we reached the same place from where we had started. It was destiny that brought us back to the same path. We met earlier Vanjari, who said to us that it seemed that we had missed the way. Sometimes mere intelligence is not enough. A guide is always necessary to show the right way in small or great matters. No quest can be successfully carried out on an empty stomach. The flaws of the intellect are strange. Unless God wills it, no one meets on the way. Do not refuse offers of food or thrust away a platter of food. believe it to be very auspicious. If someone gives food and urges you to eat, it will help you succeed in your undertaking. He again offered us food and asked us to eat and to be calm and patient. But again, this good suggestion was not approved as we left again without partaking of the refreshment. Without accompanying our quest, we refused to take any food. Then see what obstacles were encountered thanks to our obstinacy. Now I was very hungry and my throat was parched with thirst. The Vanjari's love was extraordinary and I experienced the marvel of it. We were educated and learned but had no acquaintance with kindness and compassion. A rich man, when his right hand is covered with food, does not even drive away the crow, lest the particles of the food would fly off and there would be a loss to that extent. Yet, this Manjari, illiterate and unqualified of a low caste, had the heart full of love and offered us a share of food, saying, "Eat some bread and vegetable." He who loves others disinterestedly is really enlightened. I thought how acceptance of his hospitality was the best beginning for getting knowledge. Therefore, very respectfully, I accepted the little food of the Vanjari offered and drank water. See what the miracle happened. Guru Raj came unexpectedly and said, "What was the reason for the argument?" Then I related to him all that occurred from the beginning to the end. "Would you like to come with me? I will help you all complete your search speedily. But only he who obeys me implicitly will succeed." The others did not agree to this, but I accepted it with profound reverence. The others left, and then the Guru Raya took me along with him. He took me to the well where he tied both my feet with a rope and left me dangling upside down over the well water. Guru Raya left me suspended over the well in such a way that my hands did not touch the water, and neither could the water enter my mouth. Guru Raya tied the other end of the rope to the tree which was on the other side of the well and went away confidently. No one knew where. He returned after 4 to 5 hours and took me out quickly. He asked me if I was fine. Then I replied to him, I was in supreme bliss. The joy I experienced is beyond my poor powers to describe. Hearing these words of mine, Guru Raya was delighted. Stroking my body with his hand, he kept me with him. My heart still overflows with joy as I narrate this. Then the Guru took me to the school. He took care of me as tenderly as a mother bird does to her young ones, protecting them under her wings. How wonderful was the Guru's school! I became detached from my parents' love, and the chains of greed and love snapped. I attained salvation easily. Nothing appeared impossible. My evil tendencies vanished. My previous karmas were wiped out. I thought I should embrace this Guru's neck and remain staring at him always. If his image was not reflected in the eyes, then they would be only balls of flesh. Better still, I would have preferred to be blind. Such was the effect of the school on me. Which unfortunate individuals would have wanted to leave the predictions of this school have once entered it. My Guru Raya was my mother, my father, my property, everything for me. All the senses together with mine concentrated themselves in my eyes to meditate on him. The Guru was the sole object of my meditation. The entire universe assumed his form. I was conscious of none else. This is known as singular devotion. Meditating on the form of the Guru, the mind and the intellect were baffled. Therefore, in the end, I could only pay obeisance to him wordlessly. If one cannot achieve this state, then one may take to the Guru to acquire knowledge, but his Upadesh will bring zero. One would pay large sums as dakshina and repent at the end. Such a Guru emptily chats about the secret knowledge and make sure of his purity and straightforwardness. He who has learned hypocrisy from his childhood, what can he give in the end of another? There is a great show and pomp of sacredness, but not real tender love. No actual experience exists. His school is useless, where words about the knowledge of the Brahman, it can never be experienced. Where a guru is busy singing his own glory, how can the disciple achieve his own welfare? He whose words do not touch the heart of the disciples are not convinced of what value his in his position as a guru. His words useless platitude. So be it enough. But in my case, I served my guru in such a way that he rewarded me with the store of knowledge. I did not have to search for anything or seek any deeper significance. By the Guru's grace, realization flashed upon me by itself. Without effort or study, I had not seeked anything, but everything became clear to me as broad daylight. Only the Samartha Guru Raya knows my happiness over the topsy turvy suspension with the head down and the feet up that the Guru Raya had done. The ways of saints are something different which can be understood only through experience. Here, faith alone is the consideration, and the only means to attain the objective is Guru's grace. A Dharmat knows how to observe and abstain from certain rites. A jnani is puffed with pride of knowledge. A yogi is a hypocrite. In reality, nothing can be achieved without faith. Faith. The pundits are blinded by conceit and pride personified. The jnanis run away from them and they do not like each other's company. The jnani says, there is no God but me, for I have attained all knowledge and I am pure consciousness. A bhakta, because of his faith and devotion, does not show off his knowledge. He is totally surrendered to the Guru and serves his Guru with his body, his mind, and all that he possesses. He does not have the conceit to believe that this is his achievement or that this is the greatness of his prowess or that this is the brilliance of his knowledge. Whatever happens is caused by God. He elevates and he degrades. He fights and causes fights. He alone is the doer, leaving all doership to the Guru. He adopts utter humility. A devotee is always dependent on upon God and he is not independent enough. Where were these four wise men in search of? What were they searching? It has not been mentioned so far. Listen now to the explanation. All these karmat, well versed in the way of reciting Vedas, full of pride on account of their learning, who is the course of pedantic discussion, began to discuss God. It was their objective to identify God and the place of his existence and search out paths to him through endeavor and knowledge. Shri Sai was one of the four wise men. He was the personification of discrimination and dispassion, being himself a Brahma. Then, why did he get involved in this injudicious talk? The listeners will naturally have this doubt. This way for the good of the public. Would Sai Samartha, the uplifter of devotees, be belittled by this incident? Though an incarnation himself, he respected a Vanjari by accepting his food with the firm belief that food is Brahman and spoke highly of it. Although he showed how those that rejected the offer suffered and how it was impossible to get knowledge without the Guru. By narrating the story of these wise men, religious knowledge is not possible without the instruction and teachings of the mother, the father, and the preceptor. It also depends on the studies with which without application is a waste. The Shruti exhorts us to the honor and worship mother, father, and the preceptor and obtain these powerful blessings. The blessings of the three combined with yagnas, learning of scriptures, and charity are the best means of avoiding the cycle of birth and death. These are the means of purifying the mind, and unless this purification is effected, self realization is not possible. Such a life has been lived in vain. The body, the senses, the mind, and the intellect cannot understand the profound real self. It is the Guru's grace which makes it possible, where modes of proof such as perception and inference do not help in the matter. Who else but the Guru can show it easily as holding an amal fruit? The objects of her life, such as dharma, artha, and kama, are attainable with effort. But the fourth object, Purusha, Purusharat, can be only had with the help of the Guru, without whom they will remain efforts in vain. In the darbar of the saint of Shirdi, the astrologers came and paid their homage, giving the prediction for the young and the old, the rich and the prosperous, the rulers, great and petty, the yogis who beg for alms, the ascetics devoid of desire and attachment came with equal eagerness for darshan, the sannyasis who chanted the Lord's name, who practiced penance, who took vows, the pilgrims from the holy places, the musicians, the dancers came to Shirdi for darshan with their families. The Harijans also arrived in Shri Sai's darbar to pay obeisance with the belief that he is not only mother and father who would help in ending the cycle of birth and death. They came too, who wear the lingam around their necks and smear ashes upon their foreheads and accept the uncooked grains and alms to see their festive progression. The cunning jugglers came. The Gondalis lovingly created confusion and begged for alms in the name of goddess Bhavani with great love from Baba. The blind, the lame, the deaf, the yogis, the followers of Guru Nanak, and the butts, the torch bearers, all came running with affection for Sai Samartha. The the Dugdugas, the Sarots, the lame, and foolhardies also came. Now, in good time, this Vanjini also arrived. Blessed was Sai's form, molded out of detachment. He was desireless, free of attachments, selfless, and full of incomparable love for his devotees. Enough. Now let us pick up again the thread of the main story. The listeners should pay attention. Baba never fasted nor permitted others to remain hungry. The mind of a person observing fast is never at ease. Then how can he attain Paramatma? God cannot be attained on empty stomach. First, the soul has to be appeased by satisfying the physical hunger. I will narrate one more story pertinent to this advice for the benefit of the listeners. When at noon the bowels are churned with hunger, the importance and the truth of saying that food is Brahman is realized. It is a very difficult situation indeed when some food is not put into the mouth. All the sensory organs become weak and are unable to function properly. If there is no moisture of food in the stomach, with what eyes should we see God? With what tongue should we describe His greatness? And with what ears should we listen to it? In short, when all the sense organs are strong and sound, then only it is possible to practice devotion. If one feels weak by starving, then one is unable to make progress towards the highest goal of life. Consumption of too much of food is not beneficial. Moderation is really wholesome. Extreme fasting is dangerous. It leads to affliction always. Once a lady came to Shirdi for Sai's darshan with a letter to Shri Kelkar with great enthusiasm. The lady had resolved to sit at Maharaj's feet and observe a 3-day fast, but her resolve came to naught. Baba, in accordance with his precepts, believed that when thinking about the highest goal of life, one should have food alongside. One who desires to realize God must eat a little to begin with, for unless the being is content, how would God be realized? It is impossible to realize God when one is starving. Sai did not approve of such austerities which burden one. Maharaj, who knew intuitively on the previous day, had mentioned it to Dada Kelkar earlier. Now, during these holy holidays, with, will my children go without food? How can I allow it? Then, why should I be here? The day following this utterance of Sai, this lady arrived in Shirdi. The lady's surname was Gokhale, and she was earlier resolved. She left luggage at Dada's and gave him the letter. Kashibai Kanitkar, being related, had written the letter to Dada requesting him to make arrangements for Sai Baba's darshan for her. As soon as she arrived at Shirdi, she went for Baba's darshan. Afterwards, she sat near him for a while. When she was advised by Baba, Sainath was aware of the innermost thoughts of everyone, for nothing was hidden from him. Food and the one who eats are the embodiments of Vishnu. Fasting, austerities, unsullied food, going without food or water. Why indulge in this? What is the need for us to practice fasting and austerities? Baba said this on his own to her. Go to Tada Bhatt's house, make Puran Polis happily, feed them to his children, and eat also to your heart's content. It was a happy coincidence that the lady arrived at the time of holy festival. Dada's wife at that time was in her menses and therefore could not do the cooking herself. The intense desire to observe fast disappeared as she had to cook herself. Then she very lovingly obeyed Baba's orders, making obeisances at Baba's feet. She went to Dada's house, made Puran Polis, and served everyone and ate herself. What a beautiful story, and how profound is its meaning. If one places faith in this manner in the Guru's words, then there would be no delay in upliftment. Yet another story, one narrated by Sai Samartha for his devotees, of which he was reminded. Please listen carefully. One who is desirous of spiritual progress needs to work hard and constantly study. One should be bold and courageous. One should always savor the nectar of true stories like washing of the saints' feet for one's welfare. Being humble at the saints' feet is it gives internal purity. Once, when I was young and wishing to get a job to sustain me, I was stinted on my own needs and set out. I worked on and arrived at Bidagaon, where I rested. The fakir, God, and other had other plans for me. I was happy. There, I found zari, embroidery work. I also worked tirelessly, and my efforts were rewarded. Behold the fakir's part. Those who are employed before me were extremely clever and skilled. All the four of us worked together, and our wages was fixed on a quantum of work done. One had done work of worth rupees 50, the second had done rupees 100 worth, the third had done rupees 150 worth, and mine was twice more than all of them put together. The owner was very pleased with my work and skill. He praised me to many and loved me a lot. He gave me a full dress, a turban for the head, and magnificent robe for the body, but I kept it tied up unused. Who can give enough to another person? However much is given, it is always inadequate. But when my Sarkar God begins, it lasts till the end of time. The only true giver is my Sarkar. Can anyone else be compared with him? How can the finite be the ornament of the infinite? My Sarkar says, take, take, but everyone comes to me and says, give, give. Nobody attends carefully to the meaning of what I say. No one takes cognizance. My Sarkar's treasury is overflowing. No one comes to fetch a cart loads away. When I say dig, no one does so. No one wants to make efforts. I say dig up his wealth and plunder cartloads of it. The blessed son of a true mother should fill his store with his wealth. What will be the fate of a living being? Dust will return to dust, and air will merge with air. This time will not come again. Enough. The skill of my fakir, the leela of my Bhagwan, the aptitude of my Sarkar is quite unique. I too go somewhere and sit somewhere, but this Jiva, confused and confounded by Maya, it suffers from the snares of Maya. Maya is very merciless. It has driven me to desperation. I remain worried about my people day and night. He will reap what he sows. The one who remembers the words of mine will get invaluable happiness. Hemad surrenders to Sai. Unparalleled is the narration of this story. When Sai does the work himself, my egoism is demolished. Sai himself narrates the story. He is the reader and the listener. He is the writer and the one who gets it written. It is he who makes it comprehensible. Sai himself is the actor in the story. It is he who is the sweetness in the story. It is he who is the listener and the narrator, and it is he who enjoys its bliss. Then the privilege and pleasure of listening to the story, can it help in attaining spirituality? Those devotees who are fortunate appreciate and enjoy it. Now, in the essence of the next chapter, deals with the incomparable greatness of Sai's Udi. Virtuous listeners, I earnestly supplicate you to listen with respect. Hemad says with great humility that Sai Samartha graced me and made me narrate his biography, where the stories are most interesting. May there be well being. This is the end of the 32nd chapter of the Shri Sai Samartha Satcharithra, written by the devotee Hemat Pant, impelled by the saints and virtuous people, called Narration of the Guru's Greatness. This is offered to Shri Satguru Sainath. May there be auspiciousness. Om Sai Ram. Now let us do the Aarti. श्री सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय. शिर्डी माझे पंढरपूर, साई बाबा रमावर, बाबा रमावर, साई बाबा रमावर, शुद्ध भक्ती चंद्रभागा, भाव पुंडली जागा, पुंडलिकन जागा, भाव पुंडलिकन जागा, याव याव अवके जन, करा बाबा श्रीवंदन, साई श्रीवंदन, करा बाबा श्रीवंदन, गणोबने बाबा साई, पाव पाव माझे आई, पाव माझे आई, पाव पाव माझे आई. कनेलु तांगन वने गचरण, दयार्दी पायन रूप तुझे, प्रेमीन रंगीन अनंत पूजिम पवेव इन बनीन मा, तवेव माता पिता त्वमेव, त्वमेव बंधु सदा त्वमेव, त्वमेव विद्या दैरङ्गमेव, त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव, अयर्नुमा चापसनियर्म, उद्याकनावा पतर स्वभाव, नरोमि यज्ञ सकलंतरस्मै, नारायणाय समर्पयामि. Vasudenam Hari Idavam Madhavam Gopika Villavam Janaki Nayakam Ramachandram Hari Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Shri Gurudeva Datta Sachidananda Satguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Sai Ram. I urge all the listeners to read one chapter of the Sai Satcharithra daily and soak in Baba bliss. Baba bless you. Om Sai Ram.